Welcome to Walvis on Wire. Today we're talking about Ahmad Fadhli's criticism of the Ministry of Education's co-teaching policy. We're really jumping into quite a heated debate here in Malaysian education. It's all about this new idea from the Ministry of Education, a universal co-teaching system.
That's right. And Ahmad Fadhli, who is the publicity director for the Islamic Party, he's been very vocal, very critical of it.
Yeah, and it's more than just, typical political back and forth. This really gets to the heart of where education priorities should lie, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It forces us to look at, well, this ambition for a high standard policy versus the situation on the ground right now. Fadhli's basically asking, look, do we even have the foundation sorted out to support something like this? Is it real reform tackling old problems, or is it maybe a bit misguided?
He certainly framed it sharply, calling the ministry's efforts a social experiment. That's quite sarcastic, isn't it?
It is. It's a powerful way to put it. It suggests a lack of planning, maybe. That students in the system are being tested with something unproven.
So what exactly is this co-teaching system he's targeting?
Well, the basic idea is you have two qualified teachers in one classroom teaching together at the same time. And, on paper, the benefits sound great. Better management, more individual attention, teachers collaborating more. It sounds like a real upgrade.
But the pushback, led by Fadhli, is immediate, saying it's just impossible right now. What's the current reality that makes it seem so, contradictory?
The biggest thing, you really can't ignore it, is the teacher shortage. Officially, we're short over 20,000 teachers across the country.
20,000? That's a huge number.
It is, and that shortage means overworked teachers, temporary staff, people teaching subjects outside their specialty. It's already a strain.
And Fadhli also points to the schools themselves, right? The actual buildings.
Exactly. We hear about it all the time. Schools in poor condition, really dilapidated facilities, and classrooms that are already packed. So crowded that it's tough for one teacher.
Let alone finding space and managing with, too.
That's the core issue, the contradiction Fadhli keeps highlighting. If you're already 20,000 teachers down, how does launching a policy that needs you to double the teachers in every class make sense? Where are all these extra people supposed to come from?
It does suggest a bit of a disconnect between policy planning and classroom reality, doesn't it?
A profound one, potentially.
Okay, let's try and see the ministry's angle, though. They must have reasons for wanting this universally, even with these challenges. What's the supposed benefit for all students?
Well, the intention seems clear. Raise the overall quality. Proponents would argue universal co-teaching helps inclusion, catering to different learning speeds naturally within the classroom. Plus, maybe it helps with teacher burnout, sharing the workload, improving lessons together. They likely see it as key to modernizing teaching.
Right, moving away from just lectures, ambitious goals.
Mm-hmm.
But Fadhli brings up the global picture. How does this universal plan compare to how co-teaching is normally used elsewhere?
And that's a really interesting point he makes. Fadhli correctly notes that internationally, co-teaching is usually quite specialized. It's not the standard for every single class. It's more like a targeted tool, often used for students with specific needs, autism, dyslexia, other learning challenges. It's resource intensive.
So it's typically for special educational support, not the baseline for everyone.
Generally, yes. It's designed to bridge specific gaps, requiring specialized training and resources.
So Fadhli's critique is essentially, Malaysia is trying to use this special treatment model for everybody, regardless of need, and crucially, without having the basic resources sorted first.
That sums it perfectly. And when you shift from the idea to actually doing it, the problems Fadhli points out, they seem pretty significant.
The logistics and the money involved. What are the main hurdles he emphasizes?
Okay, first, just the sheer complexity. Getting two teachers working smoothly together in every classroom, that needs intense coordinated training, joint planning, shared marking, managing the dynamic.
That training alone sounds expensive.
Immensely. Which leads to the second point, the budget. Fadhli argues it's just not there for this kind of massive rollout. Every extra teacher means salary, benefits. The costs multiply incredibly fast.
And a third point, even if the money was there.
The people aren't. The existing pool of teachers just isn't big enough to suddenly find tens of thousands more qualified people, especially people trained for effective co-teaching. You can't just magic them up overnight.
The numbers just don't seem to work, especially given the specialist skills needed.
Exactly. The maths looks very, very difficult.
That definitely gives weight to Fadhli's social experiment label. It does sound a bit like planning a fancy extension on a house with shaky foundation. But Fadhli doesn't stop there, does he?
Yeah.
He connects this co-teaching plan to other existing issues within the ministry. That's quite a political move.
Yes, he ties it into bureaucratic performance. He brings up the recent National Audit Report, very timely. That report, as you know, revealed that 46 Ministry of Education engineering projects were either shelved or abandoned. These were infrastructure projects.
46 projects for fixing schools, basically. Stalled.
Yes, related to maintenance, building integrity, upgrades, stalled due to, well, resource issues or procedural problems, according to the report.
Right. So necessary repairs aren't happening, but there's this push for a huge new initiative needing massive resources.
And that's the contrast Fadhli draws. How can the ministry justify this big, flashy co-teaching policy, needing all this training, all these new hires, when basic, essential facility projects are stuck?
It does create a perception, doesn't it? Prioritizing something that looks innovative over fixing fundamental problems.
It can certainly look that way, like focusing on headlines rather than the perhaps boring but essential work of maintenance and ensuring schools are actually functional and safe.
And what about the teachers? The ones who would actually have to implement this, what's been their reaction?
Well, their main union, the National Union of the Teaching Profession, has spoken out, and their statements suggest, well, widespread confusion among teachers.
Confusion. How
Sure.
so?
Apparently, teachers have been told about this new policy, which naturally causes some anxiety, thinking about how their jobs might change. But critically, they seem to have received almost no clear instructions on how it's supposed to work. How do two teachers actually manage a class together effectively? What are the guidelines?
So, a major policy change is announced, but without a clear roadmap for the people on the ground. That sounds chaotic.
It's a recipe for frustration, at the very least.
Okay.
And when you put it all together, the lack of guidance, the huge teacher shortage we already have, the problems with school buildings, and the evidence of other projects being stalled,
Yeah.
it really backs up Fadhli's core concern. His argument is that this isn't looking like well-thought-out, properly supported education reform. It looks more like, well, his term again, a social experiment, potentially driven by bureaucracy rather than practical planning, using our schools and kids as the test subjects.
So let's bring this back to you, the listener. What we're seeing is the Islamic Party, through Ahmad Fadhli, arguing quite forcefully that the Ministry of Education is chasing a shiny new object, this co-teaching idea, and that this focus comes at the expense of tackling the really fundamental problems. Things like that massive teacher shortage, fixing rundown schools, the stuff that really impacts learning every single day.
It really highlights a classic tension in government, doesn't it? Wanting to look innovative, to keep up with global trends,
Right.
but crashing into the hard reality of limited money, limited people, and existing problems that need fixing first. Real reform needs a solid base to build on.
So, consider everything we've discussed, that 20,000 teacher shortfall, the state of some school facilities, the lack of clear guidelines for this new system. What do you think should be the absolute top priority for the Ministry of Education right now? Should the focus be pushing ahead with this ambitious, resource-heavy co-teaching policy? Or should every available ringgit, every bit of effort, go into fixing those deep-seated foundational issues first? That's a tough question facing our education leaders today. Remember to like and subscribe for more videos like this.